When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.
Welcome back to the TwinSpires jury and a very happy new year. I'm Ashley Anderson here with James Scully and Darin Zoccali to talk our best bets and fades at Turfway Park, Aqueduct, Oaklawn Park, and we'll look at some Santa Anita racing as well. And James, I will kick things off with you in the new year. Tell me, what is your best bet, and also Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. My best bet's going to come in the Southwest Stakes. It's at Oaklawn Park Saturday. It's one of two Kentucky Derby qualifiers along with the Jerome and Aqueduct on Saturday. I like number 5, Mo Quality. I was at Keeneland on that Wednesday in October when he debuted against Touchy, who was odds on in a maiden special weight, and Touchy, ran his race on the front end. Mo Quality completely missed the break, walked out of the starting gate. I really was impressed by his rally for second. Sometimes you don't know whether to trust those eye-catching late runs that net a minor award, but I really liked how he progressed upon that first start a month later at Churchill Downs. Came back in this 6-furlong test, and like I said, I really liked the way he. To me, he has to, he basically dealt with pressure early. Mo Quality did. He kicks clear in mid-stretch. And I even though this horse, Sea Vista, who was odds on that day that ran second to him, came back and didn't run well on synthetic, I still think that is potentially, that runner-up is a really talented, like one-turn type moving forward on dirt for Brad Cox. That race came back fast on the Brisnet numbers. His numbers have been solid in both races. So one other thing I'll say, Motown, he's been okay start to his stud career, but Mo Quality is from this female family that is just full of two-turn routers. To me, he looks like he'll handle the stretch out to a mile and a 16th with no problem. And I'm going to look for him to keep moving forward off of that very strong maiden win at Churchill Downs in November.
That's actually my top pick in this race as well, and I think the morning line favorite is Vulnerable, which is why that is my fade, but I'll save that for our next section. So, Darin, I will turn it over to you. If you have any thoughts on the Smarty Jones, or if you want to take it over to your best bet.
Yeah, I thought the Smarty Jones was a pretty fascinating race from a pace perspective with Kale's Angel, the favorite that you're talking about, from that inside starting slot, stretching out around 2 turns, likely to show speed, hot property. Also likely to be forward off that wire-to-wire win. The horse that beat Mo Quality in that debut, Touchy, is actually the morning line favorite in the Turfway preview, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. But, yeah, I don't know if we're going to get 5-1 on Mo Quality. I have a feeling he's going to take some play in this spot, but, we'll have to see how it shakes out. I went to Turfway Park for my best bet. They have an entry-level allowance on Saturday night going postward as race number 8. And I like a price in number 9, Thought That Counts, for trainer Michelle Bradford. Michelle Bradford is winning in a 23% clip over the last 12 months overall. This is a gelded son of Sky Mesa who does show promise at times. And when he runs his race, he does so quite well. He's got a win over the Tapeta at Presque Downs when he broke his maiden going 6 furlongs this summer. And he has a sharp win in a tough starter allowance event, and that's the one that you're going to get a look at here. Back at Churchill Downs on September the 15th, where he's going to range up here in the stretch and open up, level off nicely, and draw clear, and is going to win this race going away emphatically here. And from this particular win where he levels off here and just gobbles up ground and just pulls away from these runners, he would go to a 5.5 furlong turf sprint. That was clearly not what he wanted to do. They went back to a tough entry-level allowance on the dirt at Churchill behind the talented Harrodsburg, where he got off to a slow beginning and never got involved. Then they stretched him out last time at Turfway Park, going a mile on this particular trip at this level, and showed speed and then tired, and is now cutting back over the synthetic, which is something that he's been proven to do well in the past. He's second race back off the freshening here. The blinkers are going on as well. And I just think in this particular spot with some speed signed on, and drawn here to the outside. I think he's going to work out a good stalking trip. I'm really dubious of the morning line favorite, Rocky Joy, who's finally broke through with a win in career start number 9 and is facing winners for the first time. I just think there's other ways to go in here, and I thought That Counts on the cutback, going here on synthetic with the blinkers on, was a very interesting horse, especially at that 12-1 price.
I had to take a closer look. Sometimes with some of your picks, Darren, I'm like, okay, I don't look at the magazine sheets. I was curious where you came up with it at first, but the more I looked at this horse, the more I could see your reasoning here. Really sharp workout on December 28th at Turfway. I also thought the 12 Mo running looked interesting too for Chris Davis. High percentage winner at Turfway as well, but I'm not going to fault you for backing a 12-1 at Turfway because big prices all the time there.
Well, yeah, and to your point, you said Mo running looks interesting, and that also added to my case. If you take a look back at the race that we watched, that replay of him in the stretch, one of the horses that That Counts was pulling away from in the stretch was Mo running, and Mo running is 4-1 in here. So when you take a look at that angle and the fact that Mo running came out of that race to run second in back-to-back tries, he was the horse on the outside here that he's just going to draw away from. So, if Mo running is 4-1, That Counts is going to get ignored coming out of a couple of, turf sprints and doing things maybe he didn't want to do. I'll take the price 3 times that of Mo running on That Counts here.
I saw Irving Mikado, this thought that, first off, I wasn't sure where Michelle Bradford came from, but I did see that winning percentage that she's off to a great start in her career. Irving Mikado, I saw him ride the last 2 weeks at Churchill Downs, saw him win a race, get a couple placings, very tough quality there. He won 11 races during the holiday meet at Turfway. I think he's a really promising apprentice, and you're going to get a 5-pound weight break with him.
I'll keep it at Turfway for my best bet. It's in race for a 6-furlong claimer for 4-year-olds and up, which I've never won 3 races, and I'm going with a lightly raced gelding here. It is number 3, Upside Potential at 4-1. Won on debut at 6 furlongs at Aqueduct when trained by Chad Brown, then was claimed out of that race, won his next start for Linda Rice, another 6-furlong sprint at Aqueduct, and then moved to Eddie Keneally's barn, ran at 5.5 furlongs on the turf, and didn't have the best trip that day, but now switching to all weather. Eddie Keneally is a 17% winner going from turf to all weather. And we're going to have, let's see, I totally forget which jockey, Luan Machado. That's who is going to be aboard, 17% winner at Turfway. And if you look at this field, a lot of these horses seem out of form, a lot of lifetime starts for some of these runners who only have 2 career wins. But this horse right here, 2 for 3 lifetime, switching to all weather, I see a lot of upside potential. Terrible fun.
No. I mean, aside from the pun, I agree. Listen, in this particular race, I thought that the race came up pretty light for the level as well. The only other horse that really interested me at all was Script, who's coming up from the Mid-Atlantic, moving to the barn of Rusty Arnold, who's run well on turf in the past, has run well on synthetic, and has shown some versatility. I want nothing to do with Pretty Fast, who was a winner against no one as a 2 life claimers by a head last time, and is now 3-1 in here. So to your point, the rest of the field, like you said, a lot of them out of form, a lot of questions. I was certainly dubious of it. Certainly do understand your angle with Upside Potential, who I think has more than upside. I think he's probably the most likely winner of the race, to be honest with you.
And Script has Irving Moncada, so there you go.
There you go. Ride the wave.
Let's switch over to our horses that we're fading at a short price. Who is that for you, Darren?
I'm fading McAfee in the Jerome Stakes on Saturday. James went with one of the Derby preps. I'll go to the other one. McAfee is 2-1 in here. Look, he's done nothing wrong in his career. But if a horse is a morning line favorite coming out of a defeat in a $50,000 starter allowance is going to win a Derby prep race, they're going to do it without my money being on them. Is it the strongest field? No, of course not. I'm also questionable about Studley Do-Right, who's going to probably get overbet coming out of the Remsen, which I don't think was a very strong race. But I thought Cyclone State was an absolute standout in here and was almost my best bet on the show. He is going to be my best bet when I do my expert picks on Saturday at Aqueduct. But for me, Cyclone State has been a completely different horse since going around 2 turns on dirt. You saw that in the race 3 back, which was washed off the turf. And then the last 2 races, he's just been absolutely dominant. And again, I don't think this field is all that much. I thought Cyclone State and ICANN made for a really nice looking exacta. I thought they could run 1-2 coming right back here. As based on the fact that I thought Stully Do-Right's coming out of a race that I questioned, and McAfee's coming out of a defeat in the starter 50. And McAfee is also the half brother to Torpedo Anna. There's been articles about that all over the place, so McAfee is likely going to get overbet off of that. But if you take a look back here at this particular race, he's in the red colors with the white ball there. I mean, he's got just about every chance to come on through here and get the win. He's coming up the inside. I get maybe coming up the rail as a 2-year-old. Maybe that does a little bit to him, but he's not going to get by the winner here. And coming out of this race to win the Jerome, like I said, just going to do it without my money at a short price.
I like Cyclone State as well. That Danny Gargan, he ran really well. I thought his first time, and then like you referenced, didn't get that second race raised some red flags, but his maiden win and even that last allowance win, I liked them both, and I like that fade.
James, who's your fade?
I'm going to fade. Well, we've talked about race 8 at Turfway previously, but my fade is in that race. It's going to be number 7, Hold My Bourbon. Hold My Bourbon is a horse that he's 5-2 morning line favorite in race 8. He broke his maiden in May at Churchill Downs on the dirt. And in his next 3 starts, he just really didn't go on, I didn't think, very well. In his last effort, they stretched him out to a mile. I think, that helped him, stretching out to a mile because his speed didn't play as effectively in his previous sprint starts. And he got the right trip this day. Looks like he's home free here. And then he just coughs up the lead late to this late runner here on the far outside. Unplaced in 1 turf start, unplaced in 1 synthetic start. To me, coming off of that defeat, there's like too many concerns. So this kind of horse I like to play against. Obviously, Darin referenced Thought That Counts. I'll mention another bomber in there I looked at, number 8, Hard to Say. Might be in a little bit tough for Robert Medina, but I've seen these Horseshoe Indy horses run well at Turfway this winter. And I thought that horse had a little bit something going for it off of his last effort. So I'm going to be spreading in pick 3s, pick 4s, or pick 5s at Turfway Park tomorrow evening. And I won't use Hold My Bourbon on any tickets.
Well, I'm going to take it back to a race that you talked about, James, in the Smarty Jones, and I'll talk about the morning line favorite that I'm going to fade, which is Hot Property at 5-2. And this is a Medaglia Dior colt trained by Brad Cox, who obviously had a great end to 2024, but a little cold here at Oaklawn, 0 for 15 right now. And Hot Property, you talked about a little bit, James. He got away with setting modest fractions, going gate to wire in his debut, won at today's distance of 1 1/16 of a mile, but a light brisnet speed figure compared to some others in the field. And I'm going to try to stand against this horse. He was 4-1 when he won. He wasn't even the post-time favorite in that race. And I think he's going to have some other speed to contend with here. He did have that huge late kick, 100 late pace rating on the brisnet past performances, but I see some others, like we talked about, Mo Quality. And I don't know if Kale's Angel will handle stretching back out in distance on the dirt, but I think there's a few others that can overtake Hot Property here. So I will stand against at 8-5. That's just too short for me.
Yeah, I definitely think Kale's Angel is going to, though, show speed and maybe hustled from the inside by Vasquez. And, yeah, there's no chance Hot Property's in the lead in my estimation. You referenced it. That race I thought had more pace when I looked at it when he was running in there. I was surprised. I mean, he basically stole that race, surprised everybody going out there that slow. He's going to revert to stalking tactics, and you got to respect Brad Cox. But I do think he's vulnerable. I think that race, he'll get too much credit for it. And at 8-5 on the morning line, I agree with you. I'm going to, I like Mo Quality. I bet Mo Quality in the Kentucky Derby future wager.
Oh, wow.
So at 72-1. I'm sorry. He was 152-1. And so I got a little bit of an interest in him just based on I loved his maiden win.
All right, then. Before we move on to what else we're watching for, Darin, of course, it's time for promos and tournaments. So what do we have going on?
Yeah, I'm still crying about my 88-1 future bet on Forever Young in last year's Derby, but we did okay in the race itself. So we'll start with promos. 5 times wager rewards points on your most wagered upon track this week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So you've got all weekend. What we did here, it's a really cool offer because we love points. at TwinSpires. We know the players do too. So the track that you have the highest handle on that day, we're giving you 5 times wager reward points. Doesn't matter what track it is, harness, thoroughbred. You're not locked into any one track. It's up to you. Whichever track you play the most, we're giving you 5 times wager rewards points. We ran this offer in the early part of the week a couple of times last year. It was very well received. And January is going to be a lot of stuff about points. And we're starting it off with 5 times wager reward points this week on your most wagered upon track. That goes on all weekend long. Stand by next week to see what next week's big point offer is, because I have a feeling there'll be another one there. And then on Sunday, we've got to hit it and split it at Gulfstream Park, the late pick 5 there, $2,500. One of our go-to offers. You hit the pick 5, you're opted in, you're going to share in an extra $2,500. If you're the only TwinSpires player, you're going to get an extra $2,500. So a really cool offer for the multi-race exotics players there. And of course, big time tournament tomorrow. It is the first Kentucky Derby prep of the actual 3-year-old season, the Smarty Jones. So we have the Smarty Jones Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge qualifier. Guaranteed 1 seat, but I'm sure we're going to get easily surpassed that. We have 9 players today playing in our bonus feeder Friday at Oaklawn. I'm sorry, we have 9 seats being given out in today's contest. So we already have like 44 players, I think, that have been fed into this contest. There's another feeder tonight at Turfway Park. It's your last chance to get in. Once we get to 50 seats tomorrow, it'll trigger a second seat. If we get to 75 players in, it'll get to 3 seats being offered. So a lot of cool stuff coming up with tournaments with the Kentucky Derby Betting Challenge. So be sure to get involved in that as well. And obviously stand by throughout the rest of January and all Derby prep season, as we'll have feeders and qualifiers for the KDBC.
Speaking of Derby prep season, James, tell me about what you're watching for this weekend.
Yeah, Saturday's San Vicente at Santa Anita isn't a Kentucky Derby qualifier, but this race definitely could have potentially some impact upon the Derby and the Triple Crown this spring. This is a race that in 2016 produced the top 2 Kentucky Derby finishers when Nyquist beat Exaggerator. And we have got Bullard, son of Gunrunner. You think Gunrunner, I mean, he sired Sierra Leone last year. He's had a Preakness winner. Bullard, to me, I think he's going to be awfully tough in this 7 furlong test. He does have a lot of speed on his dam side, so it'll be interested to see when he stretches out for Michael McCarthy. But he's going to take some beating in this race, and there's like 3 rivals in there, at least 2 from the Baffert barn. Barnes, the $3.2 million yearling, that was in pool 2 of the future wager before he was even named, or pool 1 of the future wager before he was even named. He's in the field off of that maiden win at Churchill Downs, first time out into Mischief Colt. Baffert also has Romanesque, a $850,000 son of Practical Joke that really looked good winning first time out in the fall. And then even Mackenzie Street, he's coming off of a bad effort, a non-threatening third in the Bob Hope. But he's got some class. I mean, he ran second in the Del Mar Futurity and third in the American Pharoah. So a really intriguing short cast of 5 in the San Vicente at Santa Anita. Definitely a race to pay attention to. And I also mentioned at Gulfstream Park, they're running the Mucho Macho Man, open 3-year-old stake race. Number 1, Guns Loaded. I bet 2 horses in the last Derby pool. Guns Loaded was one of them. Off of his maiden win. He's coming back in the Mucho Macho Man at a 1-turn mile for Jose D'Angelo on Saturday. And his main rivals include Cool Intentions and Septarian, who will both be making their stakes debut following allowance victories. So no points on the line, but the San Vicente and the Mucho Macho Man both have horses that will be looking to get on the Kentucky Derby trail in the coming months, and be races to pay attention to.
You got to respect Bullard's numbers, but Bob Baffert's won the San Vicente 12 times. So
is that how many? I mean,
I think it's 12. Yeah.
Pick a number for those states.
All the ones
I would
have
expect that he's won it like 37 times.
Yeah.
Only 12.
Darin, what are you watching for?
Yeah, I mentioned earlier the horse that beat Mo Quality last time out for Touchy in the Turfway preview, race number 6 at Saturday at Turfway Park, I should say. Touchy debuted in the Tremont up at Saratoga, Belmont Stakes Week, and was a good second that day. Ran in the Saratoga Special as a maiden, was favored that day too, and didn't really show much early speed, was chasing from a wide position and faltered, but then came back in a maiden special weight at Keeneland going 6.5 and flashed true ability that day. This is a look at him beating Mo Quality that day. So obviously, if Mo Quality is going to be a leading runner and leading candidate in the Smarty Jones, Touchy obviously needs to be a leading contender here in the Turfway preview. Not saying that this horse is going to turn into a Kentucky Derby horse or even get to the Kentucky Derby Trail being by Wesley Ward, and he could certainly be a bona fide sprinter. But coming off that win, he certainly looks like the potential horse to beat. He's going against Larry Ravelli's Star's Image. Larry Ravelli is 6 for 12 on the meet so far at Turfway Park, and this horse is yet to be headed at any point of his first 2 starts. He's undefeated with back-to-back wire-to-wire performances. And then from there, the 8 Warheart is coming off of a win in the Atlantic Beach at Belmont at Aqueduct, broke his maiden at Kentucky Downs. He's got a bit more seasoning for Rudy Brissett, and certainly is another horse that is a major player in here. Does look pretty top-heavy in terms of the major contenders, but very intriguing field in the Turfway preview at Turfway Park Saturday, guys.
Yeah, Rosario's coming in to ride Touchy in that race. And, Darin referenced it. He's been a big favorite in all 3 races. He does show 3 works. I believe 3 are works on the Tapeta in preparation for his first all-weather start. None of those were like the Blazing Bullet works he was working last summer and fall on dirt. But, Wesley Ward, he wins a lot of races at Turfway. So if he takes to it, he's going to be rallying a Nyquist Colt Touchy.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that, we have all of our horses that we own are stabled at Turfway, and there are a lot of mornings where that track is just slow. And, a minute and 1 second, 5 furlong work is actually a pretty solid move, whereas the horse could be working 59 at Keeneland. There's no way to know unless you have a horse training that day and you talk to your trainer, but there's a lot of mornings where we get word from the trainer. Yeah, she only went in this, but track was really deep and really tiring today, so it's actually a better than it looked workout. So, I kind of look past that a little bit on Touchy and, expect him to run well here.
We've already talked the Kentucky Derby prep races. I wanted to mention for my what else real quickly. We have a Kentucky Oaks prep race on Sunday, the Santa Ynez at Santa Anita. It's 7 furlongs and same point scale as the Derby preps, 10, 5, 3, 2, 1, I believe, for the top 5 finishers. And we have in the field, it's a somewhat short field. It's an 8-horse field, so it's not too short. But we have, the morning line favorite, I believe. I don't think the morning line was out when I looked earlier, but we have Look Forward, who's coming off a second in the Starlet Stakes. And that was at 1 1/16 of a mile. Had the lead in the stretch, but yielded late, cutting back in distance here. Going up against 2 that came out of that race, we have Mawu, and then we also have Practical Dream. But we have 3 in the field from Bob Baffert, because, of course, he's reinstated, and we probably will see him on the Derby and Oaks trail all the way up to the Derby and Oaks. And so there's 3 to watch out for here with Howen, Mawu, and Silent Law, who are in the field and have good chances. And AZ Wildcat could be a threat as well with Flavian Pratt aboard. So it's very competitive, but very good numbers from Look Forward, trying to bounce back off that second. Probably going to be tough to beat, but you just never know, especially with 3 Bob Baffert runners in the field. So I'll be watching for that this weekend to see who gets those 10 points to the winner for the Santa Ynez.
Yeah, solid effort last time by Look Forward. Baffert's filly, Temma, she ran a good race to run her down, but she's the one to beat, at least on paper. I got to take a deeper look at that, but I glanced at the field, and yeah, she does look like the logical favorite.
All right. Well, any other closing thoughts for our first show of the year?
Forever Young looked great the other day, winning in Japan again. Can't wait to see him in the Saudi Cup and potentially Dubai World Cup. So finally got a grade 1 win. It was hard to believe he never won a grade 1, but when you look back, like the races that he had won were all grade 2s, and he would consistently come up a nose short in the grade 1s. I will mention that there was a horse whose name escapes me right now, and I'm going to have to go back and look, but a Son of American Pharaoh won at 1 1/8 in Japan for Godolphin, a 2-year-old who's now 3, and looked like an absolute potential superstar that we're probably going to hear a lot of buzz about, like we heard about Forever Young last year. So looks like the road to the Derby in Japan is going to have a couple of names that we're going to have to pay attention to once again.
Yeah, they don't have the 2-year-old plan. Like, they don't have the 2-year-old graded races for juveniles like we do in the United States, where we're running grade 1 events in August. Forever Young was just getting started really at this time last year. And I think all those stakes he was running in, they were like the biggest races for 2-year-olds on dirt, but they were like listed stakes. So, having run in Saudi Arabia and then Dubai, he just hadn't had the opportunity to run in a Grade 1 before the Derby.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today for the TwinSpires jury. We'll be back next Thursday with more best bets and fades. And of course, head to TwinSpires.com or the app for all those promos, the tournaments, and to watch and wager with TwinSpires. We'll see you next time.
When it comes to horse racing, you can never have too much information. With TwinSpires, you can place your bets with confidence, whether you use handicapping insights like our Brisnet speed ratings, prime power and past performances, the guidance of our experts' top picks, or just choose a name that catches your eye. Yes! No matter how you pick your horse, bet with TwinSpires. And now you can race to victory with TwinSpires tournaments.